loves, my name is Iphannie, and this is the Iphanniebgentle podcast, where we tackle topics such as culture, entrepreneurship, parenting, relationships, trauma, and much more. So you guys know I love a good Twitter story or Twitter rant, and I actually came across this story last year, like mid last year, and I meant to do a whole podcast on it, but it just slipped my mind, and then so many other things were coming up. So I want to just jump right into this one. This girl, she was going through it, and so I kind of want to read her tweet thread and give you guys a little bit of perspective on how I would have handled the situation, or what she could have done, or if she did what she was supposed to do, or what I feel like she was supposed to do, and then we can just discuss after. So I'm going to be reading this from my phone, so when you're watching it via YouTube, you'll see why I have my phone. But it says, "Let this be a sign to the oldest daughters, retire. My 25-year-old brother, who lived with me rent-free, bill-free, thought it was the send-off that he would give me at 11 p.m. last night because I wasn't renewing the tenancy and he would have to be an adult. I hand back the keys in 3 hours." And so she actually posted a video of what her place looked like, and hell no. So she said, "I gave him and my youngest brother 5 months notice. My youngest left in January, and this 25-year-old decided to leave last night. Only thing he had to deal with was finishing his final year at uni." So I'm assuming that this is from the UK, because in the UK is where they call university uni. It says, "What I had to deal with, I'll vent. I went in therapy processing childhood and sexual trauma, anxiety, constantly being triggered, coming out, and dealing with a homophobic, manipulative mother, balancing a full-time job, and having 3 financial dependent ages 22, 25, and 50 plus. And apparently, I'm not normal. I'm complaining. I had to send a text to them what needed to be clean in the house because they didn't seem to see the dirt building up in the bathtubs or dust building up in the carpets. Their money isn't tied to this house, so why should they care? I took on the responsibility of coming back to England after getting a new job, and they were about to get evicted. I let them know what my triggers were. I offered alternative routes, and they agreed that living with me would be good and convinced me that they had changed and were mature. Setting boundaries as an adult and only daughter was received with distress. Holding them to account bought an attitude of victimization without seeing things from my perspective or trauma. They don't see a person. They see me as someone less than that. I have never been protected in my past life. I hadn't had any male role models growing up. The narcissism runs deep. I'm thankful to have the luxury of going to therapy and removing the lens that had been placed on me. I'm still financially supporting my mother, even though she has tried to get pastors to pray the gay out of my spirit. Called me an abomination and more. She also and always have said that no one will love me more than my mother. She is wrong. I love myself more than she loves me, and I also love her more. Blood families always tell you to keep things like this within the family, but I have snapped. If I'm crazy for it, then call me crazy." And then she put the OL emoji or the shrug emoji. She says, "I hope that with time you go to therapy, unpack all the trauma we went through together and individually. I hope you realize just how that has impacted you as a person, how you treat yourself, and how you treat women. I will get this house ready, I will get it cleaned, and I will spend the night at the Hilton. I will catch my flight back to the US tomorrow, and I will live my life as I always have. I have given 31 years of my life mentally, emotionally, and on many occasions financially. I am done. Parents, don't raise your daughters to be mini versions of you. Clean up after men, hug people they don't want to hug, constantly let things go, and not know how to communicate or have boundaries. They'll only end up in therapy like me and resenting you. Love your daughters' existence, but see them as individuals. Your daughters, your children even, are not supposed to validate your dreams and are not supposed to be responsible for your happiness. If you feel your children should live a life in a way you chose, take on responsibility in the home rather than discovering themselves, then trauma and therapy awaits them. So respectfully, go to therapy before having children. Another thing, if you call your children your best friend, unpack that. Unpack what it means, because as a child, I should not have been giving marriage advice at 14 in a toxic marriage, and I should not be breaking up fights between two men or two married adults at the age of 10. My vent is over now. I'm trying to find my joy and my peace in the few hours I have before the inventory clerk arrives and my retirement begins. I wish nothing but love and happiness to my siblings and parents. I hope you all heal, and you'll be doing that without having access to me. Okay, so that was a lot. She has definitely went through a lot. Now, I do want to kind of talk about how she said the whole, I'm going to kind of work backwards. So she talked about people or parents raising their daughters to be mini versions of them, and I have seen that happen a lot. And when their children end up getting into relationships that mirror the relationships that they have been through and the trauma that they have been through, then they want to sit there and act like, oh, you don't have any self-respect. Well, ma'am, this is what your child saw growing up. And although you would think like you saw your parents struggle this way or go through these type of situations, why would you want to go through the same thing? But a lot of people don't think like that. They kind of like emulate what, and this is where generational curses come in. They kind of emulate what they have seen from their parents, and they just repeat the cycle. And she's right. If you're not going to therapy before you have children, which I kind of went to therapy before I had Chandler, for other childhood stuff that I had been through, I had went to therapy for it. Some my parents took me to, and then some I actually decided to do on my own. And then even right after I had Chandler, I actually went to therapy during my postpartum stages, and it honestly helped me a lot, because your mind can really run you ragged, especially after you have a kid. You're just like on your final straw, grasping for life pretty much, especially when you're going through so much. Like, your body is changing, your mindset is changing, like you don't get no sleep. It's just a whole bunch of stuff. So it's really important for you to like sit down with someone and talk to them about how you're feeling and where your mindset is going. But if you're not doing that before you have children, I highly, highly, highly recommend you do that after you have children, like when they're babies, so that you can kind of start undoing the trauma that you were going through. Because when I say I see so many people, friends and family, who are repeating the cycles of trauma, of abuse, psychological, mental, emotional abuse in their children, and then when their children get older and they're starting to go through the same thing, or they're dating men that ain't shit, that don't care about them, that's not like loving them properly, then they're always like looking, finally they found their voice, and they're like, well, I put my foot down and I'm not letting people treat me like that. Yes, but you're also in your 40s, and your kid is now in their 20s, and they're going through all their trauma because that's what they saw you go through. So I absolutely agree with her. Go to therapy. Make sure you're not forcing your kids to do certain things like hug people. I am a firm believer, like when I was growing up, and this is no dig at my parents or anything, they weren't like, oh, you have to say, or you have to hug them bye or anything like that. My parents were never like that, except for with my grandparents. Like, give them a hug, you know, your grandparents are getting older, you never know, maybe the next time you won't be able to hug them type stuff. And then for a while I thought like that, but at the same time, I don't force Chandler to do anything he doesn't want to do when it comes to his space. I don't make him give people hugs. The most I'll make him do is speak. Like, and he knows when he walks into a room he needs to say hi, bye, or whatever. But I'm not making him like, you gotta go hug so and so, and you have to. No, Absolutely not. I've learned through my own traumas that my space is my space. If your child is not comfortable doing certain things, like hugging certain people or shaking certain people's hands, it's for a reason. Kids, they're young, but they really understand and they can really feel someone's energy. And so I've gotten to a place where I'm like, you don't have to hug them, but you do need to speak. It's very respectful if you say hi or bye or hello or good morning, afternoon, good evening, good night, stuff like that. But you don't have to hug people that you don't want to hug. Trust me, I barely even want to hug people, and I don't hug people anymore. I'd be like, hi, some people I might hug, some people hey, what's up, and keep it pushing, so I absolutely agree with her. Don't make them hug people they don't want to hug. Teaching your children boundaries is a huge thing, and I am very adamant of making sure that Chandler understands what boundary is. Now I'm putting boundaries on him with my space, because for the longest he just had so much access to me, and I'm like, okay, now you're getting a little older, you're 7 now, we need to kind of correct, and so start teaching you boundaries for my sake, start teaching you boundaries for your sake, and it's actually been working out. It's been a struggle. The beginning was hard, okay, because telling a kid you can't be in here while I'm sitting on the toilet, sir, please let me just use the bathroom in peace for 3 seconds, please. And he's like, but mom, I want to talk to you. And I'm like, you can't wait. I can't wait. You want to talk to me about Pokemon cards? You can't wait until I get off the toilet, please. So now he's getting to the space where I'm just like, okay, I'm going to close my door, let me use the bathroom, and then when I come out of the bathroom, then we can have a conversation. And it's been working out. It's been a struggle, but it's been working out. Other things like cleaning up after men. Now, I'm not a slave, okay? I was raised where I had to make sure I was cleaning up, washing the dishes. My mom never made me cook, but I kind of took up cooking on my own, and I actually kind of like it. I like being able to make things that I want to eat, but and the word slave is people are like, oh, you're taking it out of context. No. Now, I wholeheartedly believe yes, you should be able to cater to your husband and your husband should be catering to you, but I'm not about to sit here and this person is sitting on their ass all damn day, all night. I come home from work or I come home from school, I'm taking care of the kids and I'm cleaning up, and you don't do shit. Why? Because you go to work? I'm working too. I'm working 24 hours a day, okay? That's not me. That has never been me. My sweetheart and I have a really good balance of making sure that we are taking care of Chandler and taking care of ourselves and taking care of our household. So we're doing a really good job at balancing all of it. And if I don't want to do something, he'll do it. If he don't want to do something, I'll do it. But he's not sitting on his ass all day playing the game, watching TV, watching sports, talking on the phone, and I'm taking care of the household. We don't do that. That's been a hell no. That's never been us and never be us, because I refuse. If you ain't gonna help me get it done, it's not getting done, sweetheart, because why are you getting to sit down and do absolutely nothing all day and I have to slave, and I'm taking care of the kids and I'm doing homework and I'm cooking and I'm cleaning and I'm going to work? No. It's a no for me. Also, she said, teaching your kids how to communicate. That's really important. I have really been working on Chandler with opening his mouth, telling me how he feels. And I tell him you're not going to get in trouble. If you feel like this or you want to talk about this, say it. I've always been taught there's a right and a wrong way to say everything. And I'm teaching Chandler the same thing. There's a right and a wrong way to say everything. You can say, I don't like being around this person, or I don't like having to communicate with this person, or I don't like being around this person, I don't like seeing this person, or I don't like when you do X, Y, and Z, without being disrespectful. And as a parent, you should be able to listen to your child, understand where they're coming from, and then make the proper adjustments. So, loving your daughter's existence but seeing them as individuals, I think that's huge. A lot of people, they have a whole show on this where there's mom and daughters that are dressing alike and dating the same men in the same age bracket. I think that's crazy as hell. That's crazy. Y'all are dressing like y'all live together and you're 30 and your daughter is freaking 60. I mean, you're 60 and your daughter's 30. No, that's it's a mental illness. It gotta be. There's no other excuse, because that's not normal and it's not healthy. You guys should have individual separate lives. You guys should be able to come together and enjoy your lives together, but also have separate lives and live separate lives. And it's not your children's responsibility when they get older to make you feel like I'm living vicariously through you. No. You need to live your own life. I think it's really important when parents have a balance with what they're going through, them raising their children, but they're also being able to go out and have fun and be around people that are their age and in their, socialize with an adult. I tell Chandler all the time, I love you to death, okay? I really do. But sometimes I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk to a little person all the time. I want to be able to have like an adult conversation. And an example of that, this weekend I went to go get my nails done. And it's been a long time since I got my nails done. Since I've joined cosmetology school, I kind of like stopped getting my nails done because we were supposed to be working on each other and doing all that other stuff and whatnot. But I was like, that's enough. That's enough of that, okay? I need to get back to feeling like me, getting my feet done, getting my hands done, like making sure I'm like keeping up myself. And I went to the nail shop, and because I don't have that many people out here, I don't want to like always call my friends like, hey, can you watch Chandler for like a couple hours? Let me go to the nail shop and like relax and get my nails done or whatever. And I have friends who I can call because they call me whenever they need me to watch their kid or whatever. But I was just like, yeah, no, I'll just take him with me. It was after one of his games, and I'm his coach for basketball. So it's like we're always together, And I'm not complaining. I know this probably sounds like I'm complaining. I'm not. I'm really not complaining. I love being with my kid. I love being able to spend time with him and like cherish those moments because he's growing up so fast. But on this particular day, like I went to the nail shop, and the way my nail girl books me out, she books me out a 3-hour slot. So, we get to chit chat and catch up, and she had just went to Mexico for her wedding, and she came back, and then, I was getting my nails done. And Chandler kept talking to me, and I was like, bro, I love you. Go sit over there and go play on the phone or something. Like, catch Pokemon or something, but I need to have an adult conversation. I don't want to talk about Pokemon. I don't want to talk about Beyblades. I don't want to talk about Naruto and My Hero Academia. I don't want to talk about that. Okay? I don't. I want to see how her wedding was and what she did and all that good stuff, and that's what I want to talk about. And it took him a while to kind of understand, like, all right, mom really just wants to have some adult time. But he finally got it, and it was good. Like, I think teaching your kids boundaries, teaching your kids to like separate, and sometimes I grew up with stay in a child's place. I don't want to teach Chandler stay in a child's place because there's some things that we think children don't know, and they definitely know it. But I do want to teach him space, and that was like one of my things, and I was able to teach him, give mommy some space. Sometimes she just needs a little 1-2, a little adult ha he he, and then we'll be good to go, and then we can reset and get back to it just being he and I, since his dad is not here right now. So what else did she say? She said take on responsibilities in the house rather than discovering themselves. And I think that's really important. I know it's important to teach your children to like how to clean and how to take care of themselves and be self-sufficient. However, having your child slave away cooking and cleaning and doing all that other stuff, and then you got the adults in the house doing absolutely nothing, I don't understand that. Or having kids, I don't believe in having kids watch other kids. Now, I know there's certain situations where that you can't avoid it, and you gotta have your oldest watch, their siblings or whatever for a little bit. But that being like an everyday, all the time thing, I don't believe in that. I don't want, like, even if I have another child, Chandler's 7, so if I have another child, say today I get pregnant, Chandler will be 7 turning 8, or just had turned 8 while I give birth to a baby. I'm not having Chandler watch my baby. I know a lot of people are like, you say that now until you're going through it. No, I say that now because I've been through it. I'm not having my son watch a sibling. For what? Just like when when Malia's around, like, I don't be like, oh, watch Chandler, let me go run some errands. No. Y'all go have fun together, or y'all go have fun separately, but y'all go have fun. Be kids. Y'all don't gotta worry about that. Clifford, my sweetheart, he grew up watching his little sister, and he is like, I damn near raised her. Like, that's my kid. That was my first kid. And I'm like, yeah, I don't believe in that. Like, it's a hard no for me. Plus, kids have bad habits, and then you want to break your older kid's bad habit, but they're rubbing off on the baby, and then I ain't got time for that. No, I don't believe in kids watching other kids or playing mama, playing daddy, playing nanny. No. Let that kid be a kid and have fun and be able to experience who they are and discover who they are and learn about who they are. But I'm also a firm believer in therapy. Like, your children, even if you don't intentionally do it or you don't feel like you're doing any harm to your kids, sometimes kids experience things differently than what we recall. And I've talked about this in another episode where I talked about, like, you might think you might not have done anything wrong and you're giving your 100% and you're like really giving your kid everything that you could ever imagine and think that you're doing great, and that kid might not be receiving any of that and being like, I hated it. I hated this part of my life or this aspect growing up because this is not what I wanted, or this did not make me happy. So just be careful with that. I feel like putting your kids in therapy before you feel like they need therapy is always a good thing. Like, having them talk to somebody. Right now, Chandler's teacher, she's doing her clinicals, I guess. I don't really want to call it clinicals because it's not like she's in a hospital, but she's doing her trial where she is talking to kids and doing her, like, you know, having like a little therapy moment with them. And I'm all for it. She asked me, she was like, hey, how do you feel about me, you know, talking to Chandler? I know you drop him off early in the morning because you have school too. How do you feel about me, you know, taking him back to the classroom and just like having a chit chat, checking up on him, seeing how he's doing, how his day's going? And I said, go for it. Have fun. And I've really seen a difference in his attitude and his ability to kind of like adjust to things and how he's been doing as far as his dad's been gone, and like being able to talk to his teacher about it. So, you know, it really does take a village to raise a child, and sometimes a therapist need to be thrown into that village to kind of correct some of the problems that you may have caused in your child's life. Now, this one might be a little controversial, but making your children or your child financially responsible for you because you don't feel like working, you don't want to work, you want to stay on assistance, any type of county assistance or anything like that, you are able to work. You are able to get a job and actually like be good at doing something that brings in a regular income, but you don't want to lose the assistance that you have from the government. I think it's total bullshit. There are so many people who you can go get a job. It will be more beneficial for you to get a job and like show your kids that you're working hard. And again, this is for the people who are not like mentally unable, physically unable, emotionally unable. I'm talking about people who literally you were born into the system and you want to continue the trait of having system assistance type stuff. I think that's bullshit. She talked about she talked about being financially supportive of her mom, even though her mom is trying to pray the gay spirit out of her. I think that is so messed up. Listen, you cannot force someone, especially a grown person, to do or to be who they are not. I have come to realize that no matter what I say or do, if I can raise my child a certain way and give him the foundation that I believe is necessary or I believe is correct for him, but when he get older, he's gonna do what he want to do. Now, I'm hoping that he kind of stays on the track that I'm putting him on, but again, I can't force him to do what he does not want to do. That's not fair to him. That as an adult, I would try to control his life. That's not right. And so when it comes to financial things, like, my mom has made it very, 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 very clear. She is never going to be like, she's never going to put me in a position where I have to choose between my household finances and helping her out. My mom is very, very, and I talked about this on another episode, my mom is very, very, very financially aware, financially stable, and she makes sure that if something goes wrong, her kids can always come back home and she got it. She'll figure it out, because as a parent, you want to be that stepping stone for your child, not the other way around. Now, if your parents are going through something, or they're like actually disabled in some sort, financially, emotionally, physically, then that's a different story. But just to be sitting there and then you got the nerve to be talking shit about your kid because they're not living the life that you want them to live. Well, listen, according to them, they're not living the life that you're not living the life that they would have wanted you to live, and you didn't provide the life that they would have liked to live. So why are you over here harassing this girl? Let her do her. I notice in specifically the black community, they say, oh, what happens in this household stays in this household, or what happens in the family, we keep it between the family. In some instances, I understand, but in most, especially when they talk about like sexual assault or sexual abuse, a lot of times, no, we're not keeping that in the family. Absolutely not. I'm gonna put my foot down. I'm gonna speak up about it. You're not about to sit here and like make me feel like my experience was not valid, or my experience did not happen, or oh, we have to protect so and so because they, you know, something's a little off about them. What about me? What about me? This young lady talked about her sexual abuse, and from what I gathered, her family kind of made it seem like, oh, we're gonna just keep it within the family, we're not gonna talk about it out in the open. No, that's fucked up. Okay, let her express how she's experienced life, because one, a lot of times I realize that a lot of people like to keep, especially sexual abuse, or like, oh, uncle so-and-so or cousin so-and-so like to touch on kids type shit. No, hell no. I made it very clear when Chandler was a baby, he was not going to anybody's daycare until he was able to speak and he was able to use the bathroom in a toilet. So when he was younger, I started potty training him from 5 months, and by the time he was 1, he was out of them diapers, okay? Out of the diapers. We was not about to be playing those games. You're not about to, no. And I wanted him to make sure that there were certain things. I said, there's nobody that should be touching you here or here. There's no one that should be having you do X, Y, and Z. And although it's really sad that we have to have those type of conversations with our children, especially when they're young, I'd rather have those type of conversations than have to have the type of conversations that I had to have growing up after the fact. And so it's very, very, very important that if, even as a parent, if you've been through that, you seek therapy, because you need to know how to, one, try to protect your children as much as possible, but two, make sure that if something does happen, that you are a pillar for your children and you're able to be their advocate, especially if their children are young and they can't really articulate what the hell has happened to them. What else did she talk about? Oh, that whole like having your children give you advice about what you're going through. Now that I'm older, like me and my mom can talk freely. I'll be 30 this year. Me and my mom have been through a lot together, but we can speak freely. I can call her about what I'm going through in my marriage, and we just chit chat, and she don't really like divulge what's going on in hers, but like she'll be like, oh well, X, Y, and Z, and we'll have a conversation, and that'd be that. Now it's different being 30 and having those type of conversations, especially because I'm not a standard 30-year-old almost. I can't believe I'll be 30 this year. This is crazy. But I'm not a standard, like, you know, about to be 30-year-old. I'm a lot more mature, and I've been told this a lot since I was younger too. Like, oh, you're a lot more mature than people your age. And I'm like, I know, but I don't really want to be involved. But as far as like being a child and having to break up fights with adults, or being a child and having to like give the get out of that marriage, it's not worth it type of conversations, it's very traumatizing. It's been never done that. It's traumatizing, and it puts you in a space where you're like always playing Captain Save-A-Ho for your parent instead of your parent saving you from all the childhood stuff. So again, if you're doing all that, you need to make sure that you're like going to therapy for it. It's not okay. It's not okay. Don't put your children through that. It's really unfortunate she had to do that. It sucks that her family, including her siblings, are using her as a stepping stone or as a mat to just walk all over. Like, that's trifling, because that's learned behavior, and it's unfortunate. I have friends who are going through the same thing currently, where their family kind of treats them like, oh, well, you have to do them, or puts them in a guilt trip to make them feel like they have to do X, Y, and Z, because if not, like, then you're a terrible sibling, or you're a terrible daughter, or a terrible son. No. Sometimes it's okay to put yourself first. Sometimes it's okay to put your foot down. And sometimes it's okay to just cut yourself off from people. And I'm happy that she has made it very clear that you guys are going to have to love me from afar. You guys will not have any access to me. And it's really for the best. It's really for the best, because sometimes we're put in a situation where we have to know when enough is enough. Whether it be a family situation or an emotional situation, just a situation in general. You need to know when enough is enough, when to put your foot down, and when to keep it pushing, because it's not worth it. So that was my little rant. I just wanted to come on here and read this because it was really sad. Like, it's sad that family, although they're blood, sometimes, I mean, you can't choose your family. Let's be real. You cannot choose your family. However, the family that you do choose is like your friends, those type of people. Sometimes they treat you better and they love you more than your blood family does. And that's okay. That is okay. You just got to know when enough is enough for you, when to put your foot down, and when to keep it pushing. And it sounds like she has learned to keep it pushing. And guess what? She going from the UK to the US. She ain't got to worry about them no more, okay? That's a hop, skip, to jump across the pond. She don't have to deal with them anymore, and that's good. Sometimes you got to love people from a distance. I've learned that the hard way. So that is it for this episode. I know it was like a little bit of a random episode, but there's a few people that I know that would actually take heed to this conversation or to this episode, because they're going through it currently. So thank you guys so much for listening to the Iphanniebgentle podcast. I wish you nothing but light, love, and a trauma-free future. And I will see you guys in my next episode. Besitos.